All right, so quick video. Jeremy thought this would be a good idea, and I agreed with him on to make a quick video on how to read these ASTMs. This is ASTM C143, basically a standard method for slump of hydraulic cement concrete. Basically, how to do a slump. Okay, I use this one because slump is nice and easy. We all know how to do it, so it's a good example on how to read this, and it's got more information than like the temperature one, but it's not so complicated like the roller meter or anything else. So this is a good one to talk about. Again, this is it talks about what ASTM number it is, introduction, what the purpose of this test is, and stuff like that. Now this has a lot of information. It's pretty repetitive. This starts on page 23 and goes all the way to page 27. Now it's broken up into sections. So this is section 1. So this is a scope. Basically, this is another thing kind of talking about what the point of this test is. This test it covers the determination of slump of hydraulic concrete cement in both the lab and in the field, and it goes on to have some more information. So everything in this section starts with a 1. So you have this first paragraph is 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Then it moves on to section 2. All of these paragraphs are going to start with a 2. But there are no paragraphs because section 2 just talks about documents. So any documents that this references, it tells you right here. So these are the ASTMs that it references: ASTM C31, 138, 172, 173, 231, and 670. Not much information there we need to know. Section 3, the paragraphs start with a 3.1. Summary of test method, pretty self-explanatory. Basically, this says what all of this says in one paragraph. Again, it's a summary. Number 4, this one has multiple paragraphs. Of course, all the paragraphs are going to start with a 4. The significance and the use. Why do we do this and what's it used for? Blah, 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 blah. As you can tell, not a lot of stuff underlined in this section. It continues over here. Number 5, apparatus. Apparatus is basically another word for equipment. So what do you need to do the test? So 5.1, you need a mold, aka slump cone. And it talks about how the size of the slump cone, how thick the walls should be, or the thickness of the metal. The mold shall be on a lateral surface. At the bottom, it's 8 inches wide. At the top, it's 4 inches wide. It's 12 inches high. The diameter shall be within an 1/8 inch, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, we're still talking about mold, which is 5.1. So now it's going to go 5.1.1. And it gives some more information, 5.1.2, because we're still talking about molds, but this time it's talking about molds with alternative materials. Because, yes, there can be molds made from other things other than metal. I've never seen them. We've never used them, but there are some. This goes on to talk more about it. Because this is all molds, anything with 5.1. It goes on to talk about the tamping rod that you need, because we're still in apparatus, aka tools, section 5. So 5.2 is a tamping rod. Here's the size of the rod and everything we need and how long it needs to be and how it needs to be rounded, aka hemispherical tip. Measuring device, basically it's telling you need a tape measure. And it has to mark into increments of 1/4 inch, and it has to be at least 12 inches long. Here's a scoop. Yes, and the scoop does say it has to be large enough so that you can get enough concrete, but not too big so you're spilling the concrete. And then, so that's all the apparatus that you need. So you need your mold, you need your rod, you need your tape measure, and you need your scoop. You need those 4 things to do this test. It goes on to the sample. The sample shall be obtained following C172. That's section 2 in the ACI book. That's another section. And then, of course, the procedure. This is going to be the longest, not longest, but most important part. It talks about the procedure. Same thing, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, etc. It goes through all of those, talking about, this is where you want to pay attention to this. And then when you're, to back up a little bit, on the apparatus, on the apparatus, the different things, like the measuring device has to go to a 1/4 inch. The rod has to be a 5/8 rod. It has to be this tall. This is a minimum height. This is a maximum height, things like that. This is a procedure itself, like I just said. You know, of course, you raise the mold a total of 12 inches plus or, in 5 plus or minus 2 seconds by a steady upward lift with no lateral or what word is that? Torsional motion, basically no twisting. You go straight up. You don't go lateral, which is side to side, and you don't twist it. You just go straight up. So when you're actually doing the test and getting your you're doing this in front of somebody, you want to say that. You want to pull it straight up with no side motion or twisting motion. And then you immediately measure the slump from the displaced original center. Remember that displaced original center. That's what this covers. This number 8 talks about the report. How do you report the results? Obviously in slump, you report it to the nearest quarter inch. In temperature, you report it to the nearest degree. When you do the PSI on the actual cylinders you make, you report it to nearest 10 pounds, etc. Section 9, precision and bias. This talks about how, like, Arkansas, they did some tests in Fayetteville, Arkansas by 15 technicians from 14 different laboratories representing 3 states, blah, 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 and how it can change and stuff like that. And that's about it. Here's a little table on the precision. Again, not much information here for us. It goes on to here. Number 10 is keywords. I'm not sure why that's there. And then anytime this has changed over here, it'll give you a summary of changes. And the committee 09 has identified the location selected, blah, blah, blah. So these are the different changes that they've made and when they made it. So this test procedure, it was once changed on August 1st, 2009, February 1st, 2010, and October 1st, 2010. So anyway, that's kind of how you read an ASTM. Like I said, there's a lot of information on here, but you don't want to pay attention so much to the reference documents. They're never going to ask you about that. They're never going to ask you about the summary. I don't think they're ever going to ask you about the significant of use. You definitely want to get your pen or your highlighter and do the different the apparatus, the tools that you need, the equipment you need, and the procedure. Those two are going to be the big ones. Don't worry about reporting it. Don't worry about precision and bias. Don't worry about keywords. But that is how you read an ASTM in the book. Lots of information in here, but don't let it scare you. A lot of it is more information than you need. Just focus on the important stuff.